All right, today's guest back again for another interview. Head football coach of the Tyler High Lions, Coach Rashawn Woods. How you doing today,
Man,
man?
I'm doing good.
That's good. That's good. All right, so we're in the middle of off season right now, and you guys just came off of a 4-6 record, a slight decline from the 2023 season. What has been your main focus going into off season to be a better football team this coming up year?
Some of the same things that you do, regardless if it's a really good year or not. And that's just getting stronger, getting faster. And then when the opportunity comes around, reteaching some of the fundamental things that you need to do to have successful as a program, increasing the morale of the program, getting to know you guys from a coaching staff standpoint, giving them opportunity to get to know each other, um, uh, from freshmen, kids, moving up to JV and varsity. You do those things just with practice and having things going on inside the building with those guys. On our Wednesdays, we usually have some type of leadership development for them, and opportunities for them to sit in the classroom and kind of ask questions and get to know each other, get to know each other's goals, and talk about a lot of different things.
Absolutely. Um, let's talk about some of the kids you have returning. Um, 4-star wide receiver Trey Harrelson had a breakout year last year. You've got guys like him, Kadarius McMiller, Caden Granberry, some of your big playmakers coming back. But talk about some of the guys you have coming back and maybe some of the roles that you expect them to play, whether leadership standpoint or just to have a decent year.
Yeah. I think a lot of people know about Kadarius and Trey Harrelson,
Right.
Kadarius McMillan and Trey Harrelson. 4-star, potential 5-star guys. They made a lot of plays for us, being that they were just sophomores. I know in the past, Tyler's always been really, really rich with talent. And we've had some talented guys that were older guys. But our marquee guys are extremely, extremely young, and they made some plays as sophomores that helped us having opportunities to win games. And I think they're going to continue to do the same thing. Caden Granberry has continued to prove naysayers wrong. He's doing a really good job running this offense and getting the ball where it needs to get. He has a good understanding of what we need to have happen on the offensive side of the ball. And defensively, our guys are getting stronger. They understand what's going on. There's a toughness, though, that we have to continue to improve on in this particular league. That's a really run-heavy league, and really some teams that are very, very formidable in our district.
Okay. Let's talk about the freshmen and the JV just for a second. You had a pretty good group of freshmen.
Yeah.
Very talented, very athletic, maybe a little bit raw,
Mm-hmm.
just being their first year in high school, but they competed at a really high level. And even to speak on the JV, I want to say, I think they went about 500, which was probably the first time the JV team has done it in quite a while.
Yeah.
And so those guys were able to get developed, versus being on varsity and, maybe not playing,
Right.
getting the actual playing time. So talk about maybe if there are any guys that stood out to you from the freshman or JV, talk about what your expectations may be for some of those guys going forward.
I'll probably stay away from the individual guys and just talk about the group as a team.
Right.
At Bolter and Moore, those teams didn't win many games, if any, in their 8th grade year. And so my hat really goes off to Coach Elder and company and the other coaches on that freshman group for getting those guys in line and on the same page and really, really turn that thing around to a 7-3 record. The players obviously did some really, really good things, and we pulled some guys up as the season went on just because our numbers are low, and that group continued to really play well and do some good things. The coaching staff did a great job of that, making sure those guys were where they're supposed to be, doing what they need to do in the classroom. And overall, as a freshman group, I was really, really happy with their progression. They're good kids. The future is bright for Tyler High because, again, the freshman group is doing what they need to do.
Right.
Moving on to JV, the same thing. Our JV team wasn't very good my first year. We didn't have a quarterback. I believe the kid that we wanted to play quarterback ended up getting hurt. And we were just kind of putting a makeshift guy back there. It was very difficult because you're spending all your time just trying to get the varsity to understand what you're doing offensively and defensively because you don't have a lot of time.
Right.
But this year we had more time. Coach Wren is the head coach of that group, and those guys overall, the coaches did a really good job of getting those guys ready to play. Most of their time in practice is used to service the varsity.
Mhm.
And so what they ended up doing is coming in early at 6:30, 2 days a week,
Right.
just to go over some things and plays that they're going to run on both sides of the football for JB, and that helped immensely. The quarterback situation was a really good one. We had a guy that could throw and complete passes and run
Right.
in Raquel Ford, and that was very good to have. You know, he was a good player as well as the other guys on the team that either played running back or offensive line. We really had a complete team
Mhm.
of guys, and every game they were pretty competitive.
Right.
And that's something that I wanted to do early on in the season. We talked about that. I talked about that with the parents and the community that, hey, JB, we just don't want to go out there and just get beat, regardless of how many guys we got out there. And a lot of guys played both ways, but they were formidable. They knew what to do, and you can see really transparently everybody doing the same things from varsity all the way down to freshmen. And it was good to see. The records show that, and we want to try to do that year in and year out.
Right. All right, coach. So let's focus on the varsity. So back in August, you scrimmaged Terrell,
Mm-hmm.
who runs a very similar style offense as Marshall. So that's a good tune-up scrimmage because you're going to see a lot of that um, misdirection. Marshall had a dual threat quarterback who could hurt you both ways.
Mm-hmm.
That Marshall game, first game of the year, is pouring down, and you have the ability to throw the ball, but your mindset is to also be balanced. But the pass was really taken away from you due to the rain and just Mother Nature being Mother Nature. So that game was very competitive up front, but you had a similar game at the end of the season with Red Oak where it's pouring maybe even a little bit harder and you're putting points up.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you took away from the Marshall game as far as preparation to go down the road and maybe face another game where, hey, it's raining, we got to keep the ball as dry as we can, try to get the run established? What did you take away from Marshall that maybe helped you in the Red Oak game?
The Marshall game, me personally, it was on me. I did not have my team prepared. And what I mean by that, not only the players, you worry about making sure guys execute and do what they need to do, but just taking care of the balls. Having the necessary equipment to keep your balls dry. Putting the things and treating the balls in a way to where, it can wick the moisture. There's a lot of processes that go into that. Bigger schools have equipment managers that take care of that. We don't have that. And
Mm-hmm.
we have everything else. But that's my responsibility because we don't have that, and I'm aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
We got down to Marshall, and the last thing I was thinking was that it was going to rain. So
Mm-hmm.
even from the basics of game planning, I mean, what I was going to do offensively, what our plan was defensively, was did not take into account that it was going to rain right before. I
Right.
mean, throughout the week, I'm looking at the weather, and you're worried about a lot of different things. And when something hits you from the side like that, I'm experienced to know that that shouldn't have happened,
Mm-hmm.
and that we should have been better prepared.
Okay.
And I think that when we got into the game, even from the game plan part of it, I knew that our ability to throw the ball was going to be the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I prepared throughout the week to make sure that that was the case, only to not be able to complete a pass when we got to the game. And that severely hindered what we wanted to do offensively, which in turn put more pressure on the defense.
Right.
Marshall did a really good job of just being who they are, and sometimes, weather and elements can benefit one team or another. And they were prepared and ready to go. They were going to run the football, whether it was rain, sleet, shine, or snow.
Right.
And they did that at a high level and was a very, very good football team throughout the year. And we weren't prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a situation of whether the kids were prepared or not. But I just think that you have to be prepared for all scenarios, and the ball and the conditions was something that just flat out caught us as a coaching staff off balance. And we weren't able to overcome it.
Right.
And once that thing started going in the wrong direction, they were able to hold the ball and not turn it over, and we turned it over.
Mm-hmm.
And things got out of hand from that perspective. But as far as the kids and how hard they played, and I was still happy that they played to the end. They were they loved playing football, and they did everything that they could. And so knowing that typically when I make mistakes like that or not prepared, the next time around, I'm not going to, make those same mistakes twice.
Right.
And so the second time around, we got the necessary equipment to make sure we had the balls ready to go. So Red Oak, we knew it was going to rain, and every week before then, we knew if there was even a 10% chance of rain, we were prepared for that because we couldn't have that happen. The games are just too important uh, to not be prepared, and that was a mistake that in the Red Oak game, that was going to be the reason why we couldn't throw the football or make plays on the offensive side of the ball or defensive side of the ball. And that ended up not being the reason why we lost the game. But
Right.
we gave ourselves a chance to win. Red Oak was a very, very good team. And so was Marshall, right? It's not to say that we had everything right in Marshall, that we guaranteed to win that game. It's not what I'm saying. But Marshall was a good team. We're a good team. And, which this league is tough. You have to make sure that you take all of the chance out of it and do everything you can to just make sure that you're prepared in every way.
Yeah, so we'll come back to Red Oak here in just a second because that was a key game. But hats off to Marshall. They lost a few games, I believe a close one to Texas High, Longview in non-district, and they got put out by SOC.
Yeah.
So they were a very competitive team to the very end. Now, next week after Marshall, Tyler Legacy, you were able to put up almost 50 points. You come out explosive. You get the receivers involved. The run game is flowing. Crosstown rivalry. You never really want to pick, who's going to win, who's going to lose. It's a lot of emotions. It's been that way forever. But what did you do in that game specifically? You knew you had weapons all across the field. Kadarius, Caden Drummer, Searles, Nick Collins, Granberry. I believe we saw Ashton Arriaga come back as well. So you're finally healthy on the offense, whether it's not a condition or a factor, and you're able to see that offense really flourish and put up points.
Yeah, anytime you can run the football the way we did, you got a really good chance to win the game. We were pretty efficient throwing the football as well, although we only threw it 17 times, 16 times, something like that. We completed over half of them, or close to 70%, and 3 of them were touchdowns. And so when you're doing that, good things happen. The defense played well enough for us to win. And anytime that happens on the offensive side, man, I mean, you're pretty excited about that. In this league, you got to score 40 points a game, 45 points a game, and that was our goal throughout the whole year. In that particular game, we got it done. I think defensively got a little tired at the end because they go fast, man. And Coach Shahan has that Baylor style of offense where those guys spread you out and they're throwing and they're going fast.
Yeah.
And the offense is hard to stop.
Yeah.
It's no stopping it. You want to slow them down. And they got going in that second half, man. And they toughened up a little bit on the run against us and made it a little bit more difficult. But we were able to hold on to that and did some good things on both sides of football. Got the big stop at the end. And it was good for our program. And always, like you said, always a game that you don't know who's going to win it.
Yeah.
And a legacy and their numbers over there and their guys, they wanted that game.
Yeah, for sure.
They were very competitive in every way. I was it was a great game to be part of.
But I know for sure you'll take that 2-0 with the first two games for sure.
Without a doubt, I know how important that game is. Every game is important to me.
Yeah.
The atmosphere and everything that surrounds that game is big for the community. I don't take any of those games lightly. I want to win every one, district or not. And we were prepared. I mean, we were prepared, and I felt like we were prepared for Marshall, to a certain extent of, the outside elements and them catching us. But again, once you get to that next game and you have an opportunity to maybe correct some things and come out, it's good to see that what you're doing, the kids are listening and understanding, and you're getting victory because of it.
Absolutely. All right, so moving along, first time playing Seagoville, a program that struggles a little bit talent-wise, don't have great numbers, 5A D2. I don't want to say it was a warm-up game. Shout out to those guys first and their coaching staff. But everything seemed to be on point. The defense played basically lights out. Almost had a flawless game. Moving on, Lufkin. everybody has that circle on the calendar. We knew those guys were coming in who missed the playoffs previously, and we knew that they probably had something to prove. That was a very competitive game in 2023, went down to the wire. But you were in that game as well, ended up losing, just come up shy of losing. But that Lufkin team, man, who I think went 2 rounds deep in the playoffs, did secure a playoff spot, believe they won their district. What would you like to have seen maybe happen a little different in that game? Because they have a massive D-line.
Yeah. First off, Lufkin, they hit it right. They had some older kids. It was their year.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Quick over there did a really good job of getting them there to the playoffs. I don't, just to kind of look at overall of the season, the games, if you just look at the record, yeah, you could say you take a step back, but the reality of it is they were close games that we won last year that got to 6 wins that, one mistake here or there that you don't get that, and you're 5-5, or
Right.
you're 4-6, or you could very well be 7-3.
Right.
I truly believe that that's the same case this year. When you look at the Lufkin game, it's one of those games that could have went either way, but you didn't make the play when you needed to make it. And that was the case for us. I thought offensively we had some big play moments in the game, but we need to be more consistent. I've actually went back and watched every game probably 4 or 5 times, and we had some big plays, and there were times where we were electric on offense, and then at times on defense we would get them off the field, and then we give up big plays. I think in that particular game it kind of set the stage for how I felt we did for the season. We weren't continuous, or we couldn't sustain success on the offensive side of the ball throughout the entirety of the game. And then defensively, we'd have our moments where we looked really good, and then there'd be other times where we give up big plays on third down, big plays over 30 yards, and then it almost seems easy for them. And you're just kind of left scratching your head because you're doing everything as a coaching staff, and the guys are working hard, but for one reason or another, we just didn't do enough to get the job done. And that game was definitely one of those tough ones where you're right there the entirety of the game, and you got to get them off the field in order to get your offense back out there. And you do that, you get them off the field, and you go 3 and out on off. It's
Right.
just, you want to try to keep that that success continuous. And again, just being better against the run and third down for us defensively, that game was the main thing. On that side of the football, and then on offense, if we run the ball better, I think it adds a level of consistency on offense that we needed. We still needed to score more points, although I want to say we maybe scored over 30 points in that game as well, but ended up not being enough. And they're just a really good team. I mean, they're I think they had 9-10 wins or somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean they lost less than a touchdown to Longview.
Coach.
Yeah.
Like it's not. We're playing very, very difficult teams in our district. And I think when you look where you say, well, you're not playing in Longview this year. Okay. They're not the only team in East Texas that can play, man. I mean, and so our district was any different. And keep in mind, the team that we rode, Seagerville, they went to playoffs, man.
Yeah, they did.
We can talk
they got in there.
You can say whatever you want, right? But
they did what needed to be done.
Yeah.
I mean you give credit there.
I'm not making any excuse for us to win or lose. It's not what I do. Okay? The reality of it is those very good football teams that are coached against with very good staffs that we're playing against, and we had a chance to win the game, and we just have to be better and take advantage of the opportunities the next time around.
Right. All right. So after Lufkin, Highland Park is Highland Park.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot you can say on them. They have a system and a coaching staff that's been in place for quite some time.
Yeah.
Have multiple state championships within the last 10 years. They went on a three-peat, I want to say, from 16, 17, and 18. So you kind of know what comes with Highland Park. We've been in the district with them before. Pretty much similar result. We were competitive. Definitely starting out the game. They seemed we had them in place, until, we might have gave up a big play here or there. But your kids were focused. They didn't seem intimidated. They came out ready to play, high energy. unfortunately, just opportunities in the red zone that we couldn't capitalize on. So that's Highland Park in a nutshell. But some of the games that I thought probably could have put us in, Burleson Centennial, very similar to us, stud running back. Man, they had a nice receiving core. That game and the Red Oak game, one of those two could get you in. I mean, you were even there in the Midlothian game.
Well, just talking on the Highland Park game, we were very competitive, and we always will be.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I have an opportunity to coach great young men here at Tyler, we will always be competitive because of the way that we play it. Like, we're always going to be in the right play. We're going to have the numbers. It's always a numbers game on that side of the football. And then defensively, it's about keeping it simple.
Mm-hmm.
We're in that game with Highland Park, who went to the state title this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that second quarter, we gave up 21 points in that second quarter, which 14 of which was from both of them were turnovers in the red zone. And they didn't have to go very far to score. They only had one drive in that second quarter that ended up, where they earned all of it,
right,
to where they had to go longer than 50 yards. It just made it extremely difficult. You can't turn a football over on the road against a team of that caliber or a state title contending team.
Right.
But overall, the things that when we did have success and we had success running the football at times and throwing it. And it's just a numbers game in that situation where you'll get the one-on-one that you want schematically and try to get those guys an opportunity to make a play. Whether you make the throw, you got to make the throw, you got to make the block and so on. But, all in all, we had our chances there to punch the ball in.
Right.
There's multiple reasons why that ended up not happening, but schematically overall, the kids understood what needed to do. That was a very good football team, and they got the stops on us. And but it wasn't as if like we just couldn't line up against them.
Right.
It was just they're a very good football team, man.
Right,
we have to get better.
Yeah, I mean, you had some promising drives early in the game.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I'm sure you and the coaches broke that down as soon as y'all got back. You just couldn't punch it in. So the opportunities were there, and then you take those, whether it's touchdowns or field goals. I know you prefer touchdowns, and you build momentum going into a hostile environment like that.
That's right.
And it's not like Highland Park has D1 scattered all over the field like a North Crowley or a Duncanville. They just play really sound, disciplined team football, and they don't make a lot of mistakes. Coached up very good, and I would expect the same this year.
Yeah, they are very physical. They do have talent. They're very talented. They got some of the best quarterbacks that anybody has. The receivers can play the ball very well. They're actually got really good speed. I would challenge anybody to probably get in a 100-meter dash for some of their top guys.
Yeah.
I've been around programs like that where they get the mantra they're doing this without talent. But the reality of it is
they got plenty of
talent.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're very big. You go across and you're shaking hands and you walk next to the offensive line, and every one of the guys that they have on that offensive line is 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
They're in shape. They're not.
Oh yeah,
they look the part.
Not no big slouchy guys.
Right.
Yeah.
They may not be 6'5", 6'6". They may not be the guys who you need to play at LSU.
Yeah.
But they're very strong. They work extremely hard. The quarterback, hey man, whether the guy was a freshman, freshman quarterback,
first year on varsity,
quarterback, all of the guys were extremely impressive.
Yeah.
They got 5 or 6 of those guys that can throw the ball anywhere.
Yeah.
They can play the quarterback that they've had starting.
Yeah.
They would have been just as good with the quarterback that was the second string, or if they brought the JV.
Yeah, I saw the JV quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. The freshman quarterback could have been he could have played
the whole program, man,
and was good enough to lead that varsity team, which is a testament not only to those young men, but to the coaching staff for getting them that good.
Right.
But hey, the reality of it, man, is that they play on football on a different level than most teams in the state of Texas. They will be competitive against everybody.
Yeah.
And that's for multiple reasons, which include talent, which include resources, which include the coaching staff, and includes the time and hard work. And so it's a reason why they are that good. And it's actually a game that I'm extremely excited about playing, because every time that I have an opportunity as a coach to play that level of a talent, it makes me better. Whether I win or lose, I get to see firsthand what a real dominant program looks like. It's not a situation where they just got this guy and it's just, it's because they got that guy. It doesn't matter what they do. It's not that. They have some solid guys, and the processes of what they do as a football team is big time.
Right.
And so you get to see that, you get to watch their games of the other teams that they play. So not only do you have your film, you have theirs, and it gives you insight into, okay, well, what does it take to execute on that level? How much time does it take? And then you say, well, and then it gives you a carrot to chase.
Right.
If we're not executing by this time next year like this, then what are we doing with our time? Because it's obviously attainable. Their kids aren't any smarter or any well off than our kids are. Kids are kids.
Yeah.
And so that means that if there's room to get improvement, it's our responsibility as coaches to find the time or to find a way to close that gap.
Okay. Midlothian was another. Well, first let's point out you did get a win over Joshua, and Joshua, very competitive, man. They wear you down with that style of offense. They run, and I mean they're probably just a couple of guys away from just being a great football team.
The coach there had them dialed in. There was a senior group over there.
Okay,
it was their year.
Yeah,
to have a chance to make a run, and they played everybody like they played.
Yeah, they did. Low scoring games.
Yeah, and when they hold the ball and they get first downs on fourth down.
Yeah,
and they're running it all the way down the inside of 5, and then they're snapping the ball.
Yeah.
And we caught hot in that second half, offensively and defensively. We started, playing with the level of physicality that we need to stop.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's a great example of what execution does for you. And again, it's something for us that although we won the game, it's easy to see that if we can do that, it doesn't matter what offense you run. If we can execute on that level and finding why we didn't execute on that level and why they are, and then and kind of tuning it in from there as a coaching staff, man. You play those games because it teaches you those things if you're paying attention to it.
Right, absolutely. Got another win over Cleburne, which is a program that's kind of down right now, but they're still competitive. They came out, wasn't intimidated, made some good plays early in the game, just not enough on their end.
Yeah.
Fast forward to Midlothian. A game that if you could have won probably secures a playoff spot, whether it's a 3 seed, 4 seed. I think you were starting to see Trey get a little bit more double team as the season went on. So they're trying to take him away, but guys like Nick Collins, Searles, Quincy, obviously Arriaga had a great start to the game, and then Kadarius, he comes in, does what he does, but you just come up a little short, but you still got a chance to make the playoffs. So we fast forward to Red Oak. It's raining again. Now, you came out in a slightly different formation where I want to say you call this the Cujo formation. And this is where both running backs are in the backfield. And it's kind of like you don't know who's getting the ball. You don't know what you're about to call. Would that have given you an advantage? Because I know Kadarius went down a little later in that game. But would that maybe have given you an advantage? That's something that Red Oak hadn't seen on film, per se, to maybe enhance your running game with both of those running backs in the backfield.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. I felt like it gave us opportunity to have a dual threat back there. Midlothian had ran a similar formation before against them and had a lot of success. They couldn't stop a particular run play out of that set, and it was perfect for us. And so, going into the game, we would definitely have some snaps and some plays ready in that formation. Unfortunately, Kadarius hurt his collarbone again, and ended up kind of shelving that.
Right.
But Kadarius is an important part of what we do offensively, and anytime you lose a guy like that, it hurts what you want to do. Although
for sure,
Arriaga was able to carry the load and did some good things for us in that game. That's just kind of how it goes when you got a kid of that caliber go down. You've got to try to adjust the best you can, but reality of it is that you're as strong as you can be when everybody's playing and healthy.